Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation, looking for our stabilizing theorem. What is sensorality? Chirality reverses. So in last episode we showed reverse and reserve, and before we showed it in its more complete form, conservation, conversation. You just flip the V in the S. And so now intuitively, again, I keep using these different verbs to say what exactly is that doing? Is it iterating? Like when I put two words on top of each other, kind of like, you have, I don't know, the old school Wheel of Fortune, or like a really cheap scorekeeper for like a basketball game where you like flip over like 1, 2, 3. And so when I have things lined up like kind of like vertically, that's kind of intuitively what I think of as iteration. But just kind of, again, trying to be extremely specific and correct with what verb we're using. Again, what is that process when the V goes to the S? Is that iteration? Is that reversal? Right? Chirality reverses. Chirate, irate. Irate is incensed. I know we've done that before. Like I said, we will hit redundancies because we're just trying to find this finalizing theorem. We're getting further and further down, and so we're going to hit the same type of ideas over and over again. Incensing angers. Sensorality is incensing. Incense, increase. Sensorality is angerality. Sensorality is gurality. And so we can now definitely say that we've derived the verbiage, which I guess it becomes a law of motion. I think it was Leibniz wrote down the equation, and Newton said, for each action there's an equal and opposite reaction, or equivalently, force reciprocates. Last time we derived reciprocation, reciprocity, reciprocality. Reciprocality is reciprocity, and you see how like it flips the ality versus the ility. It kind of changes the difference, or differentiates the pronunciation at the beginning of the word. Reciprocity, reciprocality. But force reciprocates, right? For each action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's reciprocality. Force reciprocates. What is inverse to reverse? And so this is another cool dichotomistic pair that kind of has like directionality to it, right? Inverse, you're going to think invert, right? Iteration, inverse, invert. So it's kind of got this verticality to it, right? Inverse verticality. And then reverse, and you still have that, it's still the verse vertical, but it's more horizontal. Like if you go into reverse in your car, you're going forward, then you go backwards. You go left, you go right. So they're kind of like implied directions to these words, right? Inverse, you're kind of thinking of like flipping or vertical, and reverse is kind of horizontal. And not a proof, but certainly there's some intuition behind that. Iterating generates. Irritating is enervating, right? You're getting on my nerves. Irate, irritate. Sensorality sponsors. Sponsorship is endorsement. Sensorality is endorsement. Sensorality is sponsorship. Coarse source. And so now we have another, again, dichotomistic pair. And again, with sensorality, very clearly we're showing this iteration. Because remember, it's the syllabilities, and it's kind of like the C and the S's representing the same sound. We're showing that sound iterating. Sensorality is just a generalizing prefix in the same way reality is a form of a solution. And so, right, all language is defined in complete generality. And so you see that, again, the iteration of the C and the S, as we just showed with the S and the V. And so what do we make of that? Again, I'm not sure. The completing theorem, the stabilizing theorem, will reduce and show all of these aspects. But sensorality courses, right? Course as in discrete, D-I-S-C-R-E-T-E, is course, C-O-A-R-S-E. But if you said something as coursing through my veins, I even had to Google it, but you're spelling it with a C-O-U-R-S-I-N-G. So I had to Google it because even coursing, like when I think of course, I think of like an obstacle course or math course. And so when something's coursing, the spelling wasn't intuitively obvious to me as what you were saying there, or like anyone was saying with coursing through my veins. But flowing is coursing. Rhythm courses. Rhythm uses timing. Sensorality uses. Using utilizes. That is a natural definition. Inefficiency is dysfunctional. Sensorality is dysfunctionality. Again, just expanding that logic of life tends to disorder, right? All physical systems tend to disorder. Rhythm limits disorder. Sensorality is dysfunctionality. Dysfunctional destabilizes. Instability is dysfunctional. Connotation is the sense of meaning, right? And the most apparent dichotomy, the stabilized fundamental stability of two, right? Yes, no, or good or bad, right? It doesn't really matter what somebody's saying. It really matters how they're saying it. It really matters both, but point being is people can use a whole bunch of different words to say, good or bad, agreement, disagreement, yes or no. Meaning is dichotomistic. Connotation is dichotomistic. Universality is monisticality. Sensorality is monality. Sensorality nominates. Triviality is nominality. Sensorality suggests. A gesture is a suggestion. Gesturing motions. Etiquette is manneristic. Sensorality is mannerism. Posture is disposition. Sensorality supposes. Sensorality poses. Posing presents. Singing is scent. Again, just an expansion. Posing, sing, singing is scent. Because that's another one of those theorems. It's like, again, what is singing is scent, right? Send it! Like, belt it out, sing it loud. It just has to be logically consistent, and it'll just to produce this stabilizing syllability for sensorality. Sentality sings. And finally, what is the relationship of logic and love? Again, not some sort of philosophical question, but again, there are no bad words, and everything you really talk about, or again, not die, reproduce, that's really the love aspect. But if you can follow logic, if something resonates with you, right, love resonates with everybody. And so, what is the relationship of logic and love? Again, just posing the question to get your intuition. So that is what I have for you today. My rights continue to be violated. It is profound and extensive stress. I continue to ask for anybody to allow me to have enough stability to eat, to sleep, and to work. That is it. Any country, any place, anybody. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.